One of the biggest complaints Skyward Sword has is that it's just way too easy. That it holds your hand throughout the entire adventure, right? Sure, I can understand that. But what if you could make the game harder on yourself? No, I don't mean hero mode. I'm D-Rock, the guy behind Zelda Theory, and today I'm going to be telling you how you can play Skyward Sword HD in either a hard mode or in a more simplified, easier mode if that's what you prefer, as soon as you pick up your copy of the game. Let's do it. Now D-Rock, why in the world would I want to play Skyward Sword in hard mode? Well, here's some things to consider. If you are a seasoned Zelda fan that has literally played every single entry in the series, from the original Zelda up to Breath of the Wild, you are literally the god of all Zelda games to the point you have never seen a game over screen, you wish Zelda games were harder, and you are ready to give yourself a challenge on day one, then this hard mode is for you. This is where I'd fall, by the way, except for never seeing the game over screen. That's happened to me too many times, to be honest. What I'm about to explain in this video, though, is hero mode on steroids. So if any of this resonates with you, be sure to listen carefully, fam. Since Nintendo hasn't announced hero mode being available right away as of the creation of this video, this could replace that mode for you. Honestly, hero mode isn't even that hard in my opinion, let's just be honest, right? Just think of this as a Zelda Nuzlocke. Now on the flip side, if you view Zelda games as your way of de-stressing, or you want a more chilled out, more casual first run of the game, or you've already played this game a decent amount of times, then you might want to play in easy mode, right? Keep in mind, my friend, that these options are not something that you can select in-game. These are simply self-inflicted rules that can make the game more challenging or easier, depending on what you want. Throughout your adventure in Skyward Sword, you will come across materials that you can use to upgrade your equipment. These are monster spoils that enemies drop throughout the game that you can then use to upgrade your weapons or shields. You can also find these materials on the overworld map and even in treasure chests. Some of these materials, like amber relics, Keese wings, and Lanayru ants, are some of the many items you will come across in your adventure. You can either ignore these materials or still pick them up if you just simply can't ignore them. I mean, I feel you, man. I'm a completionist myself, right? Whatever you decide to do, just do not cash them into the blacksmith in Skyloft to upgrade the weapons you get in the game. This will definitely make the game harder on you if that's what you want. Respect. Now, what if you want to play in a more laid-back, casual way? Simply do the complete opposite here. Cash in the specific number of items that are required to upgrade your equipment that you find throughout your playthrough, which then upgraded will in return do more damage on enemies, hence making the progression of Skyward Sword much more easier than it needs to be. Can I say that the upgraded weapons do look a lot cooler as well? I just thought I'd throw that in there. Next up, another way to make your first run of Skyward Sword harder would be to not pick up the heart containers that drop after you defeat the bosses in the game. Yes, there are dungeons in this Zelda entry, and yes, there are legit bosses. And yes, they are some of the best in the franchise. Anyways, yeah man, just don't pick up those shiny heart containers after the boss fights. If you decide to go this route, you will have less life in the long run, which will allow you to take less damage before the game over screen shows up, which will make things slightly more difficult. I would also like to point out that you can also place another rule on yourself here by not picking up the random hearts that you see on the overworld map or in the dungeons specifically. I mean, not being able to restore your health would certainly make things a little more difficult, right? Come on now. Now, if you are looking for an easier method, pick up all the shiny hearts after the epic boss fights, as well as the little hearts you see throughout the overworld and in the dungeons. There are also these things called heart medallions, if I remember correctly, that you can purchase from Beetle. Yes, our boy Beetle makes a return. That will allow you to have even more hearts. It's worth noting though that these medallions do take up an item slot, which could potentially be problematic depending on your playstyle. You with me? I mentioned this over on my secret podcast on my Patreon the other day. If interested, there's a link below. But Skyward Sword is one of the only games where Link starts out with 6 hearts instead of only 3. It's a pretty fun fact for you in case you didn't know. Anyway, one of my ideas was to do a 3-heart run on your first run, but that's kind of irrelevant in this game because, well, you start with 6 hearts, which makes the game easier. I think that made sense. In Skyward Sword, shields are extremely important. They have the ability to make your adventure through the game harder or easier. Let's talk about how it could potentially make it harder. One of the reasons why Skyward Sword is one of my favorite games in the series is because of how realistic the game is. The stamina meter being electrocuted and making you take more damage if you have a metal shield equipped, or having a wooden shield equipped while exploring hotter areas in the game and watching it combust into flames. Yes. A way to make the game harder would be to keep the same shield equipped the entire game. Yes, you heard me, regardless of what province you are in. In Skyward Sword, there are 3 major areas you explore, well, 4 I guess. You have the Farron province, the Eldin province, the Lanayru province, as well as Skyloft, which is pretty much the central quote-unquote hub of the game. An example here could be keeping the base shield you get literally right at the beginning of the game equipped while you travel throughout the different areas, regardless if the thing combusts into flames or makes you take more damage by being electrocuted while wearing a metal shield. This would make your run even harder because with no shield, you could take more damage, right? Combine this with never upgrading your hearts with the heart medallions, and not picking up those shiny hearts after bosses will make your adventure that much more difficult. Another pretty cool thing here is that you might notice that Link does not start with the Hylian shield. Why? Well, there's actually a pretty cool side quest in Skyward Sword that you can do to claim the shield. Normal shields in Skyward Sword have durability flaws and take damage when enemies attack you and when you decide to block. If you happen to snag the Hylian shield with the side quest in the game, the Hylian shield in this game is unbreakable. No matter how many times you block, the shield never takes damage. Pretty cool, right? This could potentially be another way to make Skyward Sword harder if you do decide to go through the side quest to get it. Simply do the side quest to get the Hylian shield, but don't use the one shield to rule them all. Now, to make the game even more laid back, simply use the correct shield for the specific province that you're in. An example here could be in the Eldin province, you most likely would not want to have a wooden shield equipped, right? You feel me? Unless you want to witness the pretty hilarious cutscene that does happen when Link's shield starts to burn. If that's the case, more power to you, man. So there you go, some pretty simple ways to make your first playthrough of The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword HD harder if you are of the fan base that thinks this game is way too easy, or if you just want to play a more laid back, easier playthrough. The choice is yours, it's your time and your own personal adventure, so do what you will. Regardless, I will be here to help you out every step of the way. If you found value, give this video a like, and if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, turn on all notifications for all things Zelda. Until next time, continue to be the light, and remember, it's dangerous to go alone, and a great way to do that, click on one of these 2 videos here to join me in more Zelda nerd talk. I'll talk to you over there.